Lisa, you have the hormones of a menopausal woman. And this was at 18 years old. And that's when my journey really began. So I spent about the next 10 years trying to figure out what is going on with my body? Why is it broken? How can I fix it? Really trying a lot of things that made things worse before they got better.
We are joined today by Dr. Lisa Brown. She is a perimenopause coach and also a hormone specialist. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lisa. I'm so honored to have you here.
I am so excited to be here, Sherille. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I know we had already done an Instagram live, but for
Uh-huh.
those who don't know you yet, let's go ahead and tell them about your journey and how you came to be because that's very specific, a perimenopause coach and hormone specialist.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll explain my journey and then just give some clarity around that term. Like you said, it is very specific, perimenopause. But so my journey, gosh, hormones have been my life basically. I started my journey at a young age. I had a health condition where my hormone levels were at that of a menopausal woman, essentially, at a very young age. My doctor sat across from me and said, Lisa, you have the hormones of a menopausal woman. And this was at 18 years old. And that's when my journey really began. So I spent about the next 10 years trying to figure out what is going on with my body? Why is it broken? How can I fix it? Really trying a lot of things that made things worse before they got better. And I'm also a pharmacist. And so then I was able to take my professional career in that direction. So I was fortunate to work directly with women in that perimenopause/menopause phase of life. I did that for 10 years where I really focused on hormone replacement therapy. And then I branched out on my own and am now doing more holistic perimenopause support. Reason being that, during my years of working with hormone replacement, it became more and more clear to me that just really wasn't the magic pill that women wanted it to be. Sure, it could help some, but there's so much more to it in perimenopause. So now I work with women, whether you're on hormone replacement or not on hormone replacement, to help you navigate this perimenopause season.
That's fantastic. And I want to ask you, I didn't ask you this in our last collaboration. Was that a hereditary thing? You having had this early onset menopause, 18, that's my gosh, you're barely starting. You're supposed to be at your peak. And, my goodness. So, well, actually, thank God that you went through this so that you could share with all of us your journey and help us, because truly that's what we do with our gifts, right? It's the biggest challenges, and then we pivot from there, the ones that do, and we share it with our community so that we can be that beacon of hope and light, which you are. And so again, I thank you so much for being here. Did any of your family members go through something like that, or were you the lucky one?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think, if all that hadn't happened, gosh, what would my life have been like? Where would I be now? But basically, no, it was something that I did to myself, something that women really, don't realize they can do through a combination of multiple different, different types of eating disorders, the degree of stress, perfectionism I put on myself, just all different bits and pieces that essentially caused my ovaries and other parts of my body to just shut down, and say, basically, we can't help you get through this anymore.
I'm so glad that you pointed that out, Lisa, because for our community of divorced women and single moms, talk about stress and pressure of
Hmm.
trying to figure out what to do with themselves and their lives, especially if you have children that you're navigating through such an uncertain time. I know I've shared my story with you, how I didn't even realize what depression felt like. I didn't know that the reason why I couldn't get full, my eating disorder or emotional eating, I should say, was at an
Hmm.
all-time high is because of my hormones and fluctuations. So I could have used a helping hand with even the resources that you give us through your Instagram, which I'm going to leave all of her information in the show notes. It's so invaluable. And so I'm glad that you shared that. Which brings me to like the first thing I want to ask is that what are some of the common symptoms and challenges that divorced women and single moms might encounter during the menopause stage? Because there could be a really fine line, and we don't know if it's the stress, we don't know if it's perimenopause. Like, there's so much to being a woman. I
Mm-hmm.
know this is why we have to honor ourselves, ladies. But please
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yes. So surrounding that phrase, just real quick, perimenopause, just so everybody listening is clear, is the time period leading up to menopause. Menopause itself is a point in time. Once you reach that point in time, you are now post-menopause or after menopause. But everything up until that is technically considered peri, or surrounding around the time of menopause. So when you're going through, it typically falls in your 40s, right? Which for a lot of us is when we're either going through divorce or, trying to rebound from that divorce. I went through, my divorce. I went through my divorce in my mid 30s. So now it's, just been rebounding back from that. And perimenopause can start right then in the thick of it. So even for some as early as your late 30s, but for most, 40 is really when you enter fair game. And there are some really common things that women think of that are like, oh, yes, I'm there, like hot flashes, right? That's a pretty, okay, I must be, in that transition to menopause. But there's a lot of more subtle things that, just like you said, can leave you like, well, is this stress? Is this, I don't know what this is. One I think really stands out amongst women who are going through the whirlwind of perimenopause and in the midst of divorce or being a single mom, the difficulty focusing can become so problematic. Trying to just get through your day-to-day tasks, focus on your work, your job, crossing things off your list. Perimenopause can really amplify that difficulty focusing and that brain fog. And that, I think, is like when you're trying to juggle it all, be the single mom, be everything for everyone. It's like, whoa, what is happening all of a sudden?
Right. And I love this. I'm learning more from our last, conversation, because I did experience that brain fog, which when I got a divorce, I was 36. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if what the heck was happening to my body. I just knew I
Mm-hmm.
was reading the same piece of paper for an hour. Nothing was sinking in.
Yes.
And I had no idea that was even part of symptoms of perimenopause, because this topic is not explored enough. But the way that we are shifting in humanity and consciousness, there's more and more resources available for mental health, the different types
Mm-hmm.
of niche that's out there, serving also women. And
Mm-hmm.
more and more are coming out and really reclaiming their power, especially
Mm-hmm.
during midlife, and just doing the
I love
grace.
it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
I love it.
empowered and inspired by the accounts that I follow, the people that I come across, and I'm just like, wow, thank you for helping to show that it's okay to be ourselves. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much pressure, as you know, especially you and I are like same, pretty much the same timeline with our kids and
Mm-hmm.
being a divorcee at that stage. And so there's just so much out there. So I love that you shared that insight, Lisa, which now I'm going to pivot and also ask about, like, with the complexities of divorce and single parenthood, the hormonal changes, how does that affect our like mental health and emotional health during this time? Because again, there's that fine line and we don't know what is what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all connected, right? As you know, every piece of it, your mental health, your physical health, all of these things are connected. And when you're in perimenopause and you're going through these other major life changes, it's like a double, triple whammy. So, you're already depressed or, anxious about what's to come. And then you enter perimenopause. It's like, whoa, then it's a real crash. Things can really collide. But the good news about this is, just like we can focus on, our mindset and our mental health, that's a huge piece of the puzzle. Our physical health, it's a piece of the puzzle, right? So as we're working to, improve and heal and grow in these areas, that's one piece of the puzzle. So anything you can do to help your hormones in this phase of life is going to help with those emotional, kind of more mental struggles. It will only come alongside your other efforts when you focus on your hormones. Does that make sense?
It does. And I just want to ask, what tips could you give us, especially the ones that are in the thick of it during their divorce? Like, what should they truly focus on? Like top two, top three, top
Mm-hmm.
one that you
Mm-hmm.
say? Because being, I mean, you went through this. Having gone through such a devastating divorce, I could hardly do anything for myself. So this whole self-care, self-love, that did not work for me. That would not have worked for me because it's like I'm trying to, really put food on the table
Keep my
and
head above water, right?
keep my head above water and try to, not lose my shit, especially in front of my kids. So
Mm-hmm.
can we do that's easy and practical that can help alleviate some of this turmoil basically?
Yeah. So I want to share two, but that's because one has to do with food. And I know food is so hard in this phase of life. So when I think of, like, we tend to either overeat or undereat, right? Like when we're stressed and overwhelmed, some of us, lean towards emotional eating. Some of us get that anxious, not in our stomach, I can't eat anything, right? So, if you're in one of those boats, right now, my biggest tip, if you're under eating, try to just get some snacks in. If you don't have much of an appetite, I get it. That's how I was. I was an undereater, and I would go days and then think, oh my gosh, I haven't even eaten. Like, so, well, I'm probably exaggerating, a day probably, or, over a day. But so just snacks, even when you don't feel like eating, just a little something. Obviously, more nutritious snacks are better, but even just something will help sustain you more than you even realize. So that's for my undereaters. For my overeaters, or emotional eaters, my best tip there, and there's a lot that comes into that, but my best tip to start that will help you and support your hormones is just get your protein in first. Don't think about anything else. Don't even try to, cut off certain foods or anything like that. Don't even think about that right now. Just get some high protein in the morning and focus on nothing else for now, and just start there. And that same thing will start to do wonders for, just helping you sustain without getting those cravings, without wanting to reach for things throughout the day.
And that will help balance kind of the, or just keep it at bay, the hormones from like
Yes.
fluctuating. Well,
Yes.
shoot, I wish I had you way back when, because my gosh, my go-to, I'm the overeater. My go-to were chips and anger
Yeah,
and frustration. It has a metaphysical meaning as to
it
what the
does.
food,
Mm-hmm.
represents. So for me, it was the chips because I was going through my divorce process and my ex-husband was still living in my house in order for me to keep my kids in a stable home.
Mm-hmm.
He figured out his situation. So I would have to keep the peace. And that's hard when someone has just cheated on you. And that's why I got a divorce, is because, my ex-husband was
Mm-hmm.
having an affair, and to see him here in my home, my body was in such chaos.
I
And so,
can't
oh
imagine.
my gosh, as soon as I could do, like, grab chips, it was my go-to. So the anger and frustration was the representative of like the crunching. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember, even not just, basically, I got to a point where I didn't trust myself with food, but I wanted snacks, so I'd go to grocery stores and basically steal samples because I was overeating, not because I could not afford it, but because I didn't trust myself to take it home and eat the whole damn. I'd find
Mm-hmm.
chips in my like on my pillowcase. Next day, you know what I do? No shame, I'd eat that shit and be like, "Oh, chips, yum." But
Mhm.
hello, like I was going out, like I was going nuts.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
like out of body experiences. So that's so great that you're telling us about these tips. I just want to interrupt this video real quick to talk about something that is really important and super exciting, which is my upcoming workshop, Biohacking Your Best Life After Divorce. I am going to be teaching you how to heal the hurt, how to get unstuck, how to rediscover your true self and rebuild a life even better than before. I am going to be using concepts that blends science, spirituality, alternative healing modalities, and a lot of personal experience because believe me, I have made a lot of mistakes and I do not need you making the same mistakes because that's what the workshop is for. So make sure to join me. All of the information is going to be in the show notes for my upcoming workshop, Biohacking Your Best Life After Divorce. So is that the first one, like for the eating?
Well, the only other one I was going to say is that I love, and I think I mentioned this on our other live as well, is I love stretching. If
Oh,
you are like, I cannot do anything for myself, because I'm so overwhelmed, I'm drowning, right? Start with 5 minutes of stretching a day, and that's it. And don't nothing else. But that 5 minutes will slow you down for 5 minutes, and that might right now be just what you need, is that 5 minutes of time with yourself. Also, we're on that way to menopause, right? So bone and joint stiffness,
mhm.
flexibility, we're killing two birds with one stone here. Start stretching now. It helps a lot as far as just flexibility, coordination, movement in the future. So that's my favorite small sneak in 5 minutes of stretching.
That's awesome. And it also allows you to really just pause and not
Yeah.
just be in survival mode. One thing, your brain, when you get breath, I mean, honestly, guys, breath is all we have because if you're
Mm-hmm.
not breathing, you're dead. So, you need to just do yourself a solid in your body and try to create even 5 minutes of homeostasis because at this
Mm-hmm.
point in time, we're fight or flight and our nervous system is out of whack. So,
Mm-hmm. Big time.
yeah, I love that you said that, Lisa, and that's so invaluable, these tips. And just a side note to our listeners here, I hired Dr. Lisa to help me with my hormones because I don't know. I just turned 45. I don't know if I'm experiencing, I might, they're very subtle. And oh, also, I'm just going to call myself out. I told Dr. Lisa this when she and I had a pre-talk before we started working together, that I tried hormone therapy, which to me it's pellets. That's what I know of it, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
this little thing. It's testosterone. Is that right?
So you can do testosterone, you can get estrogen.
I got
Estrogen and testosterone
testosterone.
are what they usually are.
Okay, so mine was on the low side, and my sister, hey sister, she's 5 years older than me, so she is, the guinea pig, and so she told me, hey, you should really check your hormones, try this out, and for me, I'm all about preventative. So
Mm-hmm.
I went to see her doctor. They gave me a low dose, but according to my sister who read my chart, mind you, I don't know anything. I asked for the low dose, and my sister's like, oh, they gave you medium. Just watch out for facial hair and watch out for hair loss. Watch out for this. So, you know what I did? I got Nutrafol, and I'm going to my code, you guys. Nutrafol works great. Also, Harlinican. Anyway, so I doubled up the hair thing. And this is what I told Dr. Lisa in the pre talk. And honey, if you're listening, just I guess fast forward. But okay, I started growing facial hair. I'm like looking at myself one day and I'm like, what the fuck is this shadow on my like upper lip area? I take a closer look. Oh my God, I had grown like hair there, like enough hair to cause a shadow. So again, calling myself out, I go to the bathroom and I'm really looking at it now, like closely. I see my kids like shaving shaver thing, and I just shaved that shit off because I was going to a party. There's no way I was gonna look like that. And I'm like, when did this happen? Like it happened overnight. I grew this freaking facial hair. So I hope I know that what you do, Dr. Lisa, is holistic. I'm not gonna experience that.
No, you will not grow any facial hair, Sherille. We learn to use our own bodies to work alongside us.
Thank God, because I was going to go
Yes.
through another round and I mentioned this to you. I'm like, I'm not going to do that because I had met you already. You and I had been, like corresponding.
Yeah.
I'm following you, I'm supporting you. And I'm like, let me just work with her also holistically because I don't even take headache medicine. Number one, I don't really
Mm-hmm.
get headaches. Number two, it's like, I don't like taking medicine because, my son, he went through
Mm-hmm.
cancer. And so everything that I really try to do is on a holistic
Mm-hmm.
point. And I will do my best to listen to my body. It has an internal medicine cabinet, and our body
Mm-hmm.
is so smart. We try to outsmart it, me included, by doing all sorts of crazy things because the emotional eating. Anyway, circling back, can you tell us more about your approach and how you approach this in a holistic way, which I love?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I approach it is basically kind of from all angles, right? Because we've already talked about a little bit about how everything is connected, right? So we focus at three main areas. We focus on blood sugar balance, nervous system stability, and cortisol control are basically the three pillars. And so those things work together to help you find balance and heal your hormones that have likely been damaged through the years of stress and just the way that we treat ourselves. Perimenopause is, the way that I look at it, is a second chance.
Yeah.
Your body is in a very dynamic state when you're going in this. It's also referred to as your second puberty, right? So just as much as your hormones were going up in puberty, now they're going down to reach a new norm again. And your body is just, it's in such a dynamic state during that time that this is your chance to prioritize yourself and take better care of it than you ever have. And that's what my program is about. So looking at all aspects of your life, mind, body, putting it all together to support your body best in this very unique season of life that it's in.
I love that approach so, so much, especially after having gone through so much chaos and
Mm-hmm.
giving our body the love that it deserves and needs after so much stress or even during. And I
Mm-hmm.
know, Dr. Lisa, you already told us, some tips for helping to manage, but if you can expand more on perhaps just like life, even like a lifestyle change that you can give us, our listeners, for helping to manage the symptoms so that they can somewhat maintain like overall well-being.
Yeah, yeah. So, some of the tips we've talked about already, because we're trying to find small, easy things that aren't overhauling your life, right? Aren't giving you a whole new, complete lifestyle makeover. But some of my biggest, general tips for you in this season of life is to focus on your protein nutritionally. If we've got one area to focus on, protein. Focus on weights, and I'll say why, those two things. So again, we've put our body in this, we've gone through so much stress over these years, right? Especially in midlife. Like you said, we've, potentially gone through a divorce. Our, kids are getting older and moving out. Maybe your parents are, now you're taking care of a parent or your caregiver. So many things going on when this season of perimenopause hits for most of us. And then we go, run on an elliptical for an hour thinking I got to burn off these calories. And when you're in this, at least for this season of life, your body really performs more weight resistance than it does that high intense cardio that you maybe has worked really well for you in the past. Um, because this time of life is, it's about healing. It's about kind of babying yourself a little bit. And by that, I mean just giving yourself time to rest, and grow in new ways, and not just driving yourself into the ground again, as always. So, strength training, protein really helps come alongside that strength training, right? We know we lose muscle as we age. So this is a really important time of life to really come in with your weights and your protein to help offset that muscle loss that we experience as we age. Those are probably my biggest tips.
Those are great tips. And do you have, is there, because there's a lot out there and there's so much noise when it comes to health and what to do, and everyone's a specialist and they're gurus. Try this method, try that method. I've gone through all those different things, and it's a roller coaster, and it's so bad for our body to just,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, we're not loving ourselves. Number two, it's like going through all these different types of, let's say, fad diets. It's not a lifestyle, it's not
Mm-hmm.
sustainable, and it wreaks
Right.
havoc in our overall body, our immune system, our metabolism. Some people have can destroy their metabolism. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, is there like a formula for how much protein we're supposed to be taking? Obviously, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's weighs less versus somebody that weighs more.
Yeah, yes, most definitely. So the general standard recommendation, if you guys want to write this down because it changes once we reach perimenopause, so that it changes to 1.2 milligrams per kilogram, or grams per kilogram, sorry. So it's going to be 1.2 instead of 1 is what we're used to in the past.
Okay, so that's great. That's great. So how
Yes.
would they do the math on that? They would multiply that by their body weight?
So, yeah, so here's exactly what you do. You take your body weight in pounds, divide it by 2.2,
Oh, okay.
because that's going to give you your kilograms, and then times that by 1.2.
I hope everybody heard that. Can you say that one more time, even though they can?
I I will, and then I'll give you guys a much easier general recommendation. So the exact formula, if you're writing it down, is write down your weight in pounds, divide it by 2.2, and then times that by 1.2. So
Oh,
all my people who are really into fitness and counting their macros, there you go. For those of us who aren't as big into counting, 100 grams is a great rule of thumb right now.
okay. And
Okay.
that's great. And what about measuring? Should they, I mean, obviously they have to know, like, is there a tip when if they're on vacation and they're not taking their scale, is there like a tip? Look, I think it's a deck of cards. I mean, I don't know. How would somebody like that on the beginning of their journey, like without a food scale, visually see what is what? Like, is it
Yeah.
4 eggs? Like, what would a day look like?
Yeah. Well, there are some key foundational ones that I teach women inside of my program. So, for example, one egg is 6 grams of protein. So, there are some basics to remember. But I personally am actually not big on counting. When I work with clients, I have them loosely track protein for a short period of time, and then we let go. We don't count calories. We don't count anything else. It's protein for a short time period. I'm not big on numbers because I know that a lot of women in our boat, we've had issues with numbers in the past. We've grown very attached to numbers on a scale, numbers on labels, and we certainly don't want to enforce any of those habits or introduce new ones right now. I want you to be at a place where you don't have to think about numbers for the rest of your life. Where you can know the foods you eat and you love, and know roughly, okay, I know that I roughly eat this much protein a day, so I'm good, and I feel good, and I'm eating whole high quality, whole ingredient foods, and I feel good about it, and you don't have to worry and stress about the numbers forever.
I think that's great because I myself also put myself as a prisoner with whatever that number said, for that day. It dictates how I feel about myself. And
Mhm.
stop weighing myself. It's how I feel.
Mhm.
It's how I feel in my clothes. Am I doing good by working out X amount? Is there also like a number, how many times a week we're supposed to be doing the weights versus, like even moving our body, walking?
Mhm.
So are there, I mean, I know there's different rules or what have you, but what would you say to someone that's just starting this whole journey?
Mhm.
And what like types of exercises?
If you're just starting the journey, weights are a great, and you're just starting with weights. I mean, sometimes when I work with women, they don't do any weights, and so we start with 15-minute workout a week. It really depends on where you're starting at, because we're not striving for perfection. This is your unique life and your journey. If I had to put a goal number, to push towards, I like to aim for 3 to 4 times a week. I like to intermix with things like walking, movement that you enjoy, whether that be, a dance class or hiking or movement that you enjoy. But 3 to 4 times a week of intentional weight training is my ultimate goal.
Okay, that's great tip. And I'm thinking about myself because I have the tendency to go overboard and push myself even if I'm exhausted. So,
Hmm.
sleep versus working out, what's more important?
Yeah. This might be an unpopular opinion, but sleep, I don't think you should sacrifice sleep, especially, again, just remember, if you're in this midlife phase, your body is different right now. It's going through that second puberty. You will reach a phase where your hormones and your nervous system settle down again. But right now, we just got to give her a little extra love. So I do encourage rest days. I encourage prioritizing sleep over pretty much all things. Your body really needs that time to absorb nutrients, to, make hormones, to metabolize. It's so busy during that period where we think, we're just sleeping, we're just wasting time. We go to sleep and our body is hard at work, and it needs that time.
I need to replay my own podcast here, listening to you, even though we're going to remind me of this when we work together. Yeah,
Yes.
it's like because I'm listening to, I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I need to work out 5 to 6 times a week. And then the rest day is an active recovery of freaking hiking like 5 miles. It's too much. And I'm sure I'm doing my body, it's counterproductive to what I'm trying to do because I'm
Mhm.
stressing it out so much, like the
Mhm.
cortisol. Anyway, I'm so excited to get started
Mhm.
with you, Dr.
It's
Lisa.
going to be great.
It's going to be amazing and optimal. What I've always wanted is to have
Mhm.
optimal health. And for you listeners, our amazing community listening right now, please do yourself a solid, and nothing nothing happens without your health, because you could have all of the dreams and wishes and desires that you're going to guide your kids, see them when they grow, but if you don't focus on yourself, your body can just stop you, whatever.
Mhm.
It goes in its own pace and its own timeline, and I've gone through that also. Like, I injured my knee not listening, pushing
Mhm.
myself, and I ended up getting ACL surgery. I don't know how many times I've burnt myself out, and I'm sure my hormones have been out of whack, but now I'm at the stage, like Dr. Lisa was saying, it's like we need to baby ourselves. So
Mhm.
that's just and before we wrap up, Dr. Lisa, I like to ask my guests a couple questions, and I got a bonus question for you because you're a
Okay.
divorcee. So my
Okay.
first two questions is, if you had a time machine and you can go back in time, what's the one thing you would do differently?
Mm, gosh, so many things, so many things. I think probably the one thing that I wish I had done differently is not put other people's happiness before myself, before mine. I spent a lot of my life trying to not only appease people, but just not to hurt people's feelings, and just trying to be the kind, quiet people pleaser. And I think that suppresses you from, while it's can feel selfless, it also suppresses you from being who you really are and learning to speak your own mind. Thankfully, I've learned to do that before it's too late. But that is definitely one thing that looking back, I wonder how life would have been if I had just lived for myself.
Gosh, that really resonates with me, and because that's what I deal with, with helping my clients, and also I've gone through it on my own, not having boundaries because we don't want to rock the boat. you know,
Mhm.
and we have been conditioned and programmed, and we don't even know if it's from this lifetime or other lifetimes. So I'm so happy that you brought that up, and I'm so happy that you found your way, because we need your light. And when we're suppressing ourselves, we can't show up in the best way. We can't show up in
Mhm.
our, authentic power, and especially as a, divine feminine. Like, things are shifting these days, and
Mhm.
we're going through that. It's the age of Aquarius. We're moving into the feminine energy, and I'm so happy you pointed that out, and that makes me so happy for you.
Thank you.
Next question. While you're in that time machine,
Okay.
what's the one piece of advice that you would tell your younger self?
I would, gosh, I would tell myself not to take advantage of my physical body and to have gratitude for it. I totally took it for granted. I mean, just ran myself into the ground, not we just don't realize. We don't realize that, oh, I actually am doing things that are impacting my physical health on an internal level. And if we would just show our bodies the gratitude and the love that they deserve, it would all connect so much better. The physical, the mental, our goals. So
Everything.
that's one piece of advice I would have, is just to have gratitude for your physical self.
I love that. And again, on the metaphysical level too. And also, science is waking up to this fact. Like, there's, physicists,
Hmm.
metaphysicists, astrophysicists that's learning about all these things, and they're now shedding light on it, that our cells, I mean, it's always listening to our every thought, our every words, especially
Hmm.
speaking out loud is casting a spell. That's why they call it spelling. And so
Hmm.
I'm right there with you about not, being kind to our bodies back then and taking it for granted. Same thing happened to me with body dysmorphia. And
Hmm.
I remember my sister, she would always tell me when I would pick up myself out loud, say that I wish you could see yourself for what you really look like. And looking back,
Hmm.
like, what the hell was I thinking or doing? Or
Hmm.
I was at my fittest. But when our lenses are broken and we're so
Hmm.
disconnected from ourselves, we cannot see straight. And I'm seeing that in young people these days. And if
Hmm.
you have kids, especially if you have daughters, please be careful and be mindful of
Hmm.
what you're saying about yourself in front of them, because they're always
Hmm.
listening. If you're telling yourself, "Oh, I should, "Ugh, I can't eat this right now because I just got on the scale." Just minor things, little things that you don't think that they're picking up on, believe me, they are.
Hmm.
So I have
Talking
both.
about yourself bad in pictures.
Oh, every
I have to fight so hard to be like, oh, I look horrible. And I'm just like, don't say that.
right.
I have two girls. And so I'm like, don't say that.
Yes, and first of all, please catch the YouTube so you could see Dr. Lisa. She looks like a model. But anyway, or
Thank
go
you.
on her Instagram. But yes, but
Thank you.
see, it's about how we feel about ourselves. We're like
Hmm.
the hardest critic, our lenses, because we've been conditioned and told, and also everything in society telling us what beauty is, which looks like freaking plastic now. Doesn't it look like plastic?
Hmm.
Everyone looks the same. Everyone
Hmm.
looks the same. They're like going to the same doctors. I don't know, but it's like beauty is just being, your, I guess, yourself. And if there is
Hmm.
something that makes you unhappy and surgery is it for you, please go for it if that's what makes you
Sure.
happy. You're not hurting anyone. But I'm just saying, like, I honor women, and I get so emotional about this because I was there, did not see myself,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it's like, damn, I wish I loved myself a little more, because we can
Hmm.
never turn back the hands of time. We can't.
No. No.
We don't know in the next second what it holds. We don't have a crystal ball. Like, what if that last thought you had is you beating yourself up for nothing? Like, oh,
Hmm.
I suck because, I don't look a certain way. Oh, I suck because, I didn't, yeah, this guy didn't call me back. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter. It doesn't
Right.
matter. So thank you. This is so deep. And oh, I'm always fighting back tears, I feel like, when I'm talking to
Oh.
my guests. So it's just like really insightful, empowering conversation. And thank you
Yeah.
for that. I'm gonna I'm gonna change it up, and you're gonna be
Okay.
the very first guest here.
Okay.
to ask you about something lighthearted. Okay, so it's in the It Gets Better From Here podcast, we're launching what's called hashtags TGID. Thank God I'm divorced.
Okay.
So we're all about celebrating those silver linings and newfound freedoms post divorce. Dr. Lisa, can you share a funny or liberating moment from your journey that makes you grateful for where you're at today?
Oh, let's see. Funny or liberating moment. Gosh, I'm trying to think of one that doesn't come across negatively towards my ex-husband. Um,
It's tough.
it is. I mean, I have all sorts of funny things I can say that I am not, don't have to succumb to anymore. I will say perhaps more liberating. I will say, thank God I'm divorced. Gosh, so many things. I'm engaged now. To
Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't even know if you knew that. And so I am engaged, and so liberating for sure in a way that there is someone out there. There is who makes you laugh and who is your genuine best friend, and all these things that we're saying we wish we would have loved ourselves and treated ourselves better. There is a person out there who will bring that out of you, who will bring that love for yourself out of you. um and gosh, it has been so liberating for me just to find that person. So just completely life changing. So thank God I'm divorced. I have this amazing person in my life, and I do not have to sit around in my garage while my ex-husband works on cars all day long anymore.
Touche.
Woohoo!
Oh, I love that. You popped that series off really great. Thank
Mm,
God I'm divorced and you're getting you have your best friend, your person, and that's a great way to wrap up our time together because when you're going through something like this, me as well, like what the hell is in store for a 36-year-old single mom? I remember saying to myself, asking myself like who's going to love me now?
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
you know,
And the real me,
the
all
real
the details, all the garbage that I've been through now, it's but it's there, and I definitely don't want to settle for anything else.
Absolutely not. And so, Dr. Lisa, congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for shedding your amazing, beautiful, bright light for our community and for our audience. All of the information that Dr. Lisa has shared with us today, including how you can find her, is going to be linked in the show notes. Dr. Lisa, one last thing. Is there anything that you're working on that you want to share with our audience? Like, do you have a workshop or a program? I know that we're doing one on one, so there's that.
Hmm.
Is
I
there
do.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have workshops on a fairly regular basis where we get to really dive in and get more insight into kind of behind the scenes, what's happening in your body, what does it look like to get you out of it. So yes, I can definitely send you more information on those as well, as to where people can sign up and get on my email list so they know when they're coming.
Okay, perfect. And we will drop all of that in the show notes and you'll get to know Dr. Lisa. And I hope you guys work with her because she is fantastic. And I'm super excited to work with you for in the next coming weeks. So thank you. And I
Thank you so
appreciate you.
much. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
There you have it. I hope that the insight, advice, and tips that Dr. Lisa shared with us today helps you during this stage in our life, perimenopause and post divorce and beyond. As always, I want to leave you with this that no matter where you're at in your life, no matter how old you are, it gets better from here. If you like this episode, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And stay tuned because we have a very special guest next week. Thank you.